Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And yes, we have been howling with excitement because Wolfman has been on our radar for quite some time now. I mean, Luke and I did a video when they first officially said, yes, Lee Whannell is moving forward. He's casted Christopher Abbott. And, we're moving forward with this project finally because we've been talking about this, at least in our personal lives, since way back when Ryan Gosling and Derek Cianfrance were attached to this project, which was very exciting for us because we like that pairing. But man, we are finally at the time of getting a trailer, and the movie, in all honesty, is coming out in January. It's not that far off. I mean, it'll be here before we know it. And yeah, I was excited to get a preview for this because I'm curious. I wanted to know what Lee Whannell's take was going to be on this. We love Lee Whannell. Upgrade, The Invisible Man. I mean, the dude has just really shown some prowess in not only the horror space, but just as a filmmaker in general. He's won a lot of hearts. Luke, what would you say about that?
Oh, absolutely. I second that 100%. Going into something like Upgrade, I just kind of fell into that one. I picked it up on Blu-ray because I thought it looked interesting. Didn't really know what to expect, and I got to say, it is one of my favorite rewatches still to this day. And then, of course, Invisible Man, eh, such a
So good.
such a question mark when it comes to these Universal monsters, especially around that time. And then to get the quality of Invisible Man that we did get. I'll say when we said Lee Whannell was going to be directing the Wolfman and kind of navigating that ship, I got excited for it because of the gravitas that he brought to the Invisible Man and what he was able to do with that story and bring it into the modern time. So once he got announced as helming the ship for Wolfman, I got even more excited for this just because it was what can he do here. So this one we talked about at the very beginning of the year. This was my top 3 most anticipated, which has then gotten pushed back to 2025. But I had Late Night with the Devil, Alien Romulus, and Wolfman. So 2 for 3 right now. Wolfman is a big question mark. So I
Hey,
don't know.
we were all smiles and positivity until what was that, Wednesday night? Halloween Horror Nights, baby. It's something I really want to go to one day. I think we absolutely need to pack up the families one of these days, head down to Florida or wherever it is, I forget, but check it out, go visit. But they did something a little strange, something that I don't think they anticipated was going to get as much press and as many headlines and just about everybody in the horror community. And I mean, everybody that we follow on all of our social media chimed in on this one, which kind of made me excited because it's like, damn, a lot of people are really, really excited for Lee Whannell's Wolfman. But how unfortunate was that the first little inkling that we get, other than that teaser poster, was that I guess what they're calling the Wolfman reveal, which we should put up front because, yes, a lot of people have been correcting others in the comments. We have no idea if this is like even close to the final official design of the Wolfman. We don't know if this is maybe the wolf that bites him, if this is maybe just an offshoot to it. There's a little something in the trailer that kind of reassures me a little bit. And we're going to dive into that in here in a minute. But the thing that I just saw a lot of people and I totally agreed with was just like, yes, this is a Halloween Horror Nights costume. So it's not something that's going to be like top tier behind the camera, like, or in front of the camera effects wise. But just the concept alone, I'm not going to lie, it definitely put me off guard and saying, I don't know if that's the way I wanted them to go with this at all. Luke, how do you feel about that, man? What are you thinking?
I wasn't overly invested in that release of the video of this creature or whatever the hell it is, but like looking at it, certainly an odd take when you're Blumhouse. You haven't had the best track record certainly this year. Wolfman has been pre-production stuff going on for so long. We talk about Ryan Gosling and so many people attached to this and the struggle the Universal monsters have went through just in general over the past decade at the very least. To attach something like that to Wolfman, and having that kind of be really your first image of any sort of character that's going to be appearing in this film was such an odd take, where regardless of what it's going to be, if it's just this, it's meant to look a little comical. It's not the highest budgeted costume that we've seen. Certainly, something that's not going to be appearing in the film. But to have something like that attached to Wolfman, and right in the background is the poster. You can't escape it. You knew it was going to get eyes. People were going to be talking about it. I don't know necessarily if you want that sort of negativity going hand in hand with the film that's going to be released in January, especially when you have things like Night Swim and Imaginary in the conversation.
Yeah, and I didn't want to be the negative naysayer that so many other people were, and I just put on Twitter just my little, I couldn't help myself to start my little repost of it was just like, no, right? Like, no way, come on. Like, it just doesn't seem like this is what I think anybody who's anticipating this film really wants out of this. And I know we said it in our first video, we talked about it, because Lee Whannell's Invisible Man is a bit more of a grounded take. It goes for that kind of pseudo-scientific realism of having it be like a suit instead of like he drinks a formula and becomes invisible, and we did have some concerns because it's like, yes, I know that that's how he handled Invisible Man, but like, we want a traditional Wolfman. I don't think this is one of those ones where you have to reinvent the wheel with Wolfman. They could have literally taken a 1-to-1 from the design of Benicio del Toro's from 2010, which I think is completely underrated. And they could have put that in this film, and that would have been chef's kiss. I think everybody would have loved that, because that's an incredible makeup. Say what you will about the film, that design is impeccable. And I think if they just would have done something closer to that, you would have had everybody on your side, which they very much still could be going towards a traditional Wolfman. We don't know. But to have this be your first inkling and to have that kind of a reaction, even people who I know to be very level-headed were saying, I trust Lee Whannell, but this is strange. This is very, very weird. We don't like this.
And looking at the concept of just werewolf movies in general, a lot of how you're going to please the audience falls on what that werewolf is going to look
100%,
like.
yeah.
The spotlight is just kind of directed right at that sort of character. So, looking at, especially being in 2024, and we've seen our handful of werewolf movies certainly this year, but just in general. And we talk about Lee Whannell's kind of unique take on the Invisible Man and him wearing a suit. Honestly, in 2024, the unique take of a werewolf movie is just having a straightforward werewolf movie.
Yes,
because
100%.
we don't get that often. It's always some sort of commentary. It's an undersell of what the actual creature is. So to actually have a real werewolf movie, that's the unique take, and that's what fans want. So, when you look at a werewolf film and you want to look at that creature design, honestly, from just a marketing standpoint, I would not release any sort of character image that is not at least a humanoid. You have to, if you're going to release any sort of creature, it's got to be the werewolf, and it's got to be in a great form, because any other thing is going to be misinterpreted, which I do think this probably was, where this is like just some sort of random character. Who knows if it even appears in the film? I don't know. But
some people think that this is like a mid-transformation. Maybe this isn't like the full-blown full moon Wolfman.
Maybe it's some dream sequence. Who really knows what this is? But, it's going to be misinterpreted for a big portion of the audience to say, this is what this werewolf's going to look like. I've sat through some Blumhouse stuff over the past few months that didn't really hit, that's shown up on streaming. I'm going to sit out for Wolfman, because werewolf films for me seem to be, when you look at a general audience, maybe a little bit of a harder sell. It seems like supernatural films, slasher films are the kind of go-to horror. But when you kind of dive deeper into those science fiction roots, with something like The Blob, I think might be a harder sell point for a general audience. And certainly werewolf films, I think, are, just because you have to suspend so much disbelief that, I think when you have a general audience looking at your film and just having opening images, you want to put that best foot forward and have the best images coming out, not just some kind of random weird werewolf character. I'm not sure what it was, but it was certainly odd.
Lots of comparisons to Three Finger from the Wrong Turn franchise as you get into those later sequels. I mean, dead on, man. That's definitely what we were thinking. But we kind of saw the writing on the wall with this. This was one of those things where it didn't just turn into one night's worth of coverage. People started making videos and the tweets just kept coming. So I feel like this trailer, because from what I understood and some of the things that I had heard, was the initial pitch was to have this roll out next week when right before Speak No Evil. So you were going to see the trailer there first, and then it was going to drop online. But it looks like they kind of went into damage control mode and we're like, hey guys, no, like the movie is great. Like, take a look at it. So that's what we have here. And let's talk about it a little bit. So this trailer, man, Luke, how are you feeling? What are your first impressions going off of it? Now, this is a teaser. It's the official teaser, I should say. I get a lot of flack for people being like, oh, you say trailer, it's teaser. I get it. But like, we just get a little taste of the tone and kind of what they're going for with Lee Whannell's Wolfman. How are you feeling about it?
You know, it's always so hard to gauge these teasers just because they are so short, and usually, for the most part, they are pretty well done because you can kind of, jam pack an hour and 45 minutes of footage into this hour 10 second clip. I gotta say, for this one, I'm pretty sold on it thus far. I think they were able to capture that tone. It does feel, especially when you get toward the end of it, it really feels, you feel that tension in just that minute and 10 seconds. Especially the that very last scene that they have, I think is very haunting. But even start from the beginning where you have the one bug attacking another bug, and then some beautiful shots of the outside. It really does set that tone for these kind of Wolfman elements and being out there and just werewolf films in general. So this one, it's easy to be misled in a teaser, but hey, they have me hooked just from the start here.
Yeah, I thought that this was definitely a really well-produced teaser. Again, I kind of wish that this was the first thing we saw and then maybe have the Halloween Horror Nights thing just to kind of have this to counterbalance where it's like, oh man, but that teaser was really well done. Because yeah, I love the imagery of the bugs and kind of having this, predator prey kind of scenario on like a small scale. And then, yeah, it's like you just get the imagery of them moving. Obviously, it's a Blumhouse movie, so the family's moving into a house, it looks like. So that's pretty standard stuff.
You got to get that point.
You got to. It's not a Blumhouse movie without it, unless you're a good Blumhouse movie. But, yeah, so I digress. I like the imagery of seeing, like, what looks to be a jacket that's all covered in blood with somebody out there with their, like, either their phone or their flashlight just kind of beaming around. I like kind of the implications that we're getting here. And I looked really hard at the sequence where it seems to be right when his daughter says his daddy's sick. And we see Christopher Abbott. I believe that's him. They don't show you the face of the person, but it's his arm. And, if you look too quickly, you could be misinterpreted as a bite, but it almost looks like he got scratched. So, with that in mind, what do we know about werewolf lore? In the sense of, if you're scratched, if you're only mildly injured, you can sometimes, depending on what you're following, could be taking on like attributes of a werewolf, but not necessarily go full blown, werewolf, which then leads me back to the Halloween Horror Nights thing where it's a little bit more human, a little bit more strange. So I don't know if this isn't Christopher Abbott, maybe this is that character that they showed. I don't know. I'm not going to read too deep into that, but I did think that that was something that I had to connect in my brain there that I just thought was really interesting. But I do like the idea of going with this. Again, it seems like they are trying to tell a very traditional kind of story. Family moves into a home, dad gets attacked, something's going on. And now we have these strange occurrences. Dad's acting strange, getting a little bit more wolfy as the full moon approaches.
Yes, I'm certainly intrigued to see what they're going to bring. I love those elements of not necessarily contagion, but it certainly feels like that as health starts deteriorating. So I really hope they do take advantage of it. I did get some tones of that as we were watching the teaser here, and I gotta say, I'm excited for Christopher Abbott's performance. While this is just a short teaser, I did really find him intriguing in this. You know, he's got that kind of subdued emotion performance, I think. And I'm really excited to see how that's going to look, especially as we get into this getting closer and closer to a transformation, which is another thing I hope they don't cheap out. I hope we get a great transformation in this. You know, from what we've seen, just the tiny bits of the werewolf in here, I'm excited to see what they're going to actually bring. That doesn't seem like what we saw with this thing at Halloween Horror Nights there. So I'm excited to see what they're going to bring with that. Again, it's all about the werewolf design and what they're going to do. I hope they do find some sort of unique attribute to bring to this werewolf itself. So I don't know. We'll see. It has me intrigued. I did love the ending part where we do see the claws, the arms coming through the windshield when the one kid's in the car. So we got a little glimpse there, but I think they did a great job in this just teaser, kind of concealing him, but also showing in the background, kind of getting that silhouette.
Yes, I did want to touch on some of that, because one piece that I saw before we move right into that, because there's a couple things on there that have me intrigued. And we see Christopher Abbott at one point, his hand, and I just freeze framed it here. And yes, he is clearly holding a tooth. So, you know, obviously they could play that into anything, but it seems like the way they're
like
doing
Jack
their werewolf
Nicholson
here
in the ear.
Yes. So it's like, you know, he's got like his tooth is kind of falling out. You know, maybe he is going to have a little bit of the attributes of like wolf very early on, and he could just kind of be a little bit more man-like with the wolf-like attributes. I'm very interested. And then this is the shot that really intrigued me. It's through this sniper scope, this hunting rifle. It's very, very brief. We only see it for a quick second. I am doing my best to get a nice little screenshot of it. From my perspective, and I know you can't see this, Luke, but I'll have it up in the video here, is it looks like a man, like definitely a hairy, you know, creature-esque thing. The only thing that throws me off a little bit is that it does look like it's during the day. Did you catch that in the scene that I'm talking about here? Or
Yeah.
did you examine that?
I'm actually looking at it right now. Does this not look at least like some of that guy from Halloween Horror Nights?
It does, and that's what I'm curious about. I'm wondering if this is like some kind of like halfling werewolf thing. You know, and that's
Could
the
this
thing that's
be,
curious.
Maybe like early morning, Dad's out hunting, and this thing's coming out of its full transformation.
It very much could
and
be. Yeah.
He runs into it. I don't know.
That could be, and you see, that would be something really cool. Like if he's kind of coming out of his transformation, that's why he kind of looks all humanoid and stuff. Like, I would love that. That would be a total way to win me over with that. But again, when you're hyping everybody up, like you've said with a werewolf movie, you don't want to start with that. You want to give us the goods, at least somewhat. I mean, think back to those Wolfman posters from 2010. You just have that undershot of Benicio del Toro's Wolfman. You don't get to see every little detail of him, but you know he's a monster, and you know he looks fantastic. So it's like, yeah, but I would agree with you that was where my head was at, where it's like, so we could be dealing with a multiple werewolf situation here. And then obviously we see what might be Christopher Abbott, what might be this grabbing the knife from is it Julia what's her last name? She was from Ozark.
Garner.
Julia Garner. Yeah, and you know, we see somebody grabbing a knife out of her hand, and you know, it's they look pretty messed up, like they got some bites or cuts or something. And yes, we kind of conclude the trailer with your image that you had kind of alluded to here. Like, obviously we see the hand hit the thing, we get the Wolfman title card, which I do like the font. I think it's nice. It's definitely different. I don't think anything will ever beat that, in my opinion, that classic you know, old-fashioned font that we have. Like, I don't know, I love that. I have a very big soft spot for the original Wolfman, as I know you do yourself. But yeah, again, we get some freeze frames of this hand busting through. Now, it's interesting because in this first shot here, I see a lot of flesh and claw, and it's all blurred. But in these second and third shots, it looks very hairy, very
Yes.
monster-like. So it leads me to believe that he could be maybe transforming on the car and punching through. I just, I again, the Halloween Horror Nights thing has made a lot of us very nervous, and I think over analyzing a lot of this. But if this is going the route that you just talked about, where that could be like an early morning, whatever that wolf was before transforming and biting him, I like that. I think that's really cool. I like that angle. We've never seen something like that at least in my knowledge, you've never seen something like that happen before. So I'm excited if that's the case. But yeah, I mean, overall, I do like the trailer. I think that the tones are good. I trust Lee Whannell 100%. He has done nothing to really say, hey, he doesn't have a handle on this. I just, again, as I've reiterated many times, I just think it's unfortunate how we kind of had to be served all of this with the trailer and the costume and everything. I think it's just kind of muddied the water, and in my opinion, I think it's hurt the film for some people, in my opinion. I think some people aren't going to watch this trailer, only see that costume, and already write the movie off. And that's unfortunate. That's not what I wanted for the first few steps of the Wolfman.
Yeah, and who knows what the logic was behind this Halloween Horror Nights thing with this image of this character coming out. But I think, looking at it, I think having this drop days later, maybe shows a little confidence in the creatives behind it to say, wait, we don't want this commentary attached to our film. We actually do have a good film. And I'm hoping someone's going to pause this just enough to see through the scope that, hey, this looks like the guy from Halloween Horror Nights. So like, don't be scared of what we're going to be offering you in January. So, maybe this shows a little more confidence that they do have. And then, if they go that aspect of this coming out of your transformation, so to speak, and you had mentioned, we only get so many attributes. I'm curious to see if they go that route. What would that look like? Would he be a full Wolfman? Would he only acquire some things, or where that story is going to lead? I have complete trust in Lee Whannell as well to bring us something unique and different what we would have been seeing in the werewolf story. So I think with this teaser, it's given me more confidence. I never put too much stake into the Halloween Horror Nights thing. But, I just thought it was a bad look marketing wise. And, maybe they didn't think that one through. And maybe they didn't think people were going to put so much stock in what they did see there. So maybe they did release this. So, I'm excited for January. It's still touch and go, but I'll say, with Blumhouse's track record this year, and then finally seeing this teaser, it's given me more confidence, because if you had asked me this a week ago, even before Halloween Horror Nights had happened, I'd say, this one, I'm leaning a little more negative than I probably should, just because of what we've seen Blumhouse produce.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that the one trend I have seen with Blumhouse, and I can say 100%, is that when they attach a name that we know and we trust, like a Scott Derrickson, a Lee Whannell, a Mike Flanagan, it's always quality, which is very strange. It always seems like whenever they get into kind of their niche, kind of, I guess you want to call them teeny bopper horror films, like Imaginary, like Night Swim, that's when you get those dicey kind of, it could be good, but more than likely it won't be kind of thing. And so I think, yeah, again, this is one that it's like, it's leaning more positive. I'm going to stay positive because, again, I do trust Lee Whannell. I think that, this is unfortunate how this all spun out. But I think that if this is like a middling transformation, he could be going a route that you and I have discussed a lot when it comes to what we would do if we had a werewolf property. Maybe we wrote something that, maybe a series, I don't know, of like werewolf content, where we've even discussed where it's like, if you have something like this, it's tough to choose what kind of werewolf you want to do. I mean, we have our preferred, but we kind of have a spectrum of them where it's like, who's to say that you can't have in the early half of the movie him look, maybe, and I'm not saying this movie has to do it, but like maybe your werewolf looks a little more like Jack Nicholson from Wolf, then goes into something that looks a little bit more like a the howling on two legs, maybe a little bit more towards that Benicio del Toro werewolf. And then by the time they're full-blown full moon werewolf, maybe they could be on all fours, like you're looking at a wolf from American Werewolf in London. I think that it's an open field here. And like you said early on, werewolf movies, they haven't been getting their due a lot recently. And when they do, everybody wants to, change the formula and be metaphorical and not just give us the werewolf. So it's like, I think that if Leigh Whannell understands that and wants to tell us that, I trust that maybe in my heart of hearts, he's going with that formula and saying, I'm going to give you many versions. But at the end of the day, when we get to that third act, you're getting the full-blown Wolfman. That's all I can hope for.
And looking at, we are going to be getting 2025 when this is released. You got to believe Blumhouse is aware that they need a win.
They do.
So
they do.
I think they're going to, if there's ever a film where they need to bring their audience back, if they've lost some of those, deep-rooted horror fans, I think this is the one that could get a lot of people back on board, or at least start healing those wounds from Blumhouse. So, I think they're aware they have to really put some creativity behind this. They have Leigh Whannell. So, I'm confident there. We'll see what happens. I think there's really only one right answer when it comes to that werewolf design, though. They gotta dust off Silver Bullet. And
go for it, baby. Yeah.
And here we go. We're good.
Let's do it.
The character from Halloween Horror Nights was probably Gary Busey. Let's be honest here.
Fuck yeah. Let's go. Hey, I would love it, man. I'll take it. Gary can come back. That's the only way you win me over with that design. But yeah, I think I'm going to go positive in this. I'm going to stay strong. I'm going to stay the course, and Leigh Whannell I trust. But it's a good teaser. It is. It's got good tones. It's got good energy, good bones about it. Can't wait to see the full trailer here, hopefully in like another month or so. I guarantee you before Nosferatu comes out, we'll be getting it, because obviously they kind of go hand in hand with each other, with their histories. So I think overall, yeah, like Luke said, Blumhouse needs a win, and I hope Wolfman does it. So yeah, we'll be talking more Wolfman, of course. I think as we lead into this one into January, expect a lot of werewolf content on the channel. That'll be a perfect opportunity for us to bust into some stuff.
Excuse.
Oh yeah, and hey, we cannot forget that Mr. Stephen C. Miller has a werewolf movie coming out, and that's, we already know what those werewolves look like, and we haven't even seen a trailer yet. And I can tell you, he's nailing it. He knows what to give the people, and I'm excited to see that. It's a little bit more actiony, a little bit more dog soldiers, but I'm fucking all for it as long as the werewolves look sick as fuck as they do in those previews, man. Like, I'm excited. So yeah, I'm ready for it, man. Let's do it. And yeah, let us know down below, guys. How are you feeling about the Wolfman? How do you feel about all of the debacle that has been going on, the little drama that we experienced this week with this? And did the trailer, the teaser, I should say, redeem this film for you? Are you excited for this one? I hope you are, because we certainly are. So alrighty, guys, it's going to wrap it up here. We got a lot of good stuff up on the channel. Luke just checked out a little film on Netflix called Rebel Ridge, so definitely check out his review there and see if that's something you might want to check out this weekend. But if you want to venture out to the theater, I got a chance to check out Beetlejuice, so you can check out my review right then and there. So alrighty, until next time, I'm Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the hard shit, gonna do it live, cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna slash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna slash your ass.